Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fusion 360 for FTC series. This is the 21st video in the series, and if you haven't watched the previous 20 videos, I recommend you do so by clicking on the card. Drawings are a very powerful tool. They can allow you to communicate your design easily and quickly with just one picture. They give you more information than a render or just a simple screenshot of your design. They can also give somebody the necessary information to reproduce your design. Um, we have our screw and our nut here, and I'm in the individual files. We're going to be working with the individual files to create our dimensions, our drawing here. What I'm going to do is, how do I create a drawing? There's two ways. We have the drawing workspace down here, and if you do from design, it's just going to create the drawing, and your design is going to be the thing that's drawn. If I do from design, that works, and if I do new drawing from design, that also works. So if I go ahead and click, you'll notice that it's highlighted this in blue. Um, so the reason it's highlighting in blue is that's because it's going to be included in the drawing. We have three options here for the contents. That's just what's going to be included. So the full assembly is everything in the assembly. We only have one thing here, so it's going to be included. Visible only would only select things that are visible, and select would just select things that you select. So if I choose select, I can then choose this. Kind of dumb because we can just do full assembly. There's only one thing. You don't have to worry about any of these settings unless you want to change your units to something different. But I'm going to change my sheet size. This is just the dimensions. I'm going to change it to 297 by 210, just like that, and click OK. Now you'll notice it's created a new file, and we're working in a new workspace with different tools. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. You can exit out of it too. The first thing that you always need to do when creating a drawing is you need to create some pictures of your design. And that's where the drawing view comes in. There's four different options. The base view is really what I use for mostly everything. I find the projected view not that useful. We'll talk about it a little bit later. It can be useful for creating more diagonal sort of views. The base view is more just like head on, and it has some diagonal. The section view, it sort of does a section analysis and then takes a picture. And the detail view does a zoom on a detailed section. So I'm going to create three views for my screw. I'm going to have like a side on where you see the head and the threaded portion. I'm going to have a top down where we just see the head, and then I'm going to have a sort of diagonal so we can see everything. So I'm going to click base view. And we have some options here. So the orientation, the style, and the scale options are really the most important ones to work with. So if I put this on front, we're just looking on from the front here. That's why it's important to have your model orientated correctly in the design so that this process becomes easy. If we had it turned sideways, this could become more annoying. We have some different options here. We have the home view, the top view, just like this. There's lots of different views. So I'm just going to put this on front. And next, for the scale, I'm going to go ahead and put this on 6:1, let's say. We want to try to sort of fill up this space as best as we can. So I'm going to go ahead and place it just like that. And right now it's sort of this like low res shaded version, but as soon as we click OK, we're going to get a high res non-shaded version. It's like lines, and I'll show you how we can change this. I double clicked on this object, this view, and that allows me to change the settings. Right now we're on visible with hidden edges. If I change this to visible edges, what you would notice is that we can only see the edges that are actually visible to us. We don't get any x-ray view or anything like that. If we do shaded, it's just the shaded with the appearance we set, and if we do shaded with hidden edges, it's shaded and you can see the edges on the inside. So I'm going to keep this on visible and hidden edges, and that's because I want to see this cutout here for the driver. I want to be able to see it, and if I turn this on visible edges, you can't see it. So I'm going to go like that and close it. Next, let's talk about moving our views. So if I want to move it over, the command is M. The first thing you have to do is select an object to move. And the next thing you have to do is select a point that you want to move it from. This is going to be your base point. Now if I drag to the right here, you'll notice it's only moving to the right. If I do some sort of diagonal thing, it's moving diagonally. This is a kind of weird way of moving. I don't really like it that much, but that's what we're stuck with, at least for the time being. So if I move this over a little bit, I just want it to be a little bit more over, and I'm going to click OK, just like that. For rotating, it's sort of a similar thing. You select it, you select a point to rotate about, just like this. If I select this corner, and then I select an angle. So right here is 0 degrees, like the Cartesian plane. This would be 0 degrees, the x-axis to the right. And then if I go up, this is 90 degrees, and you can see we're rotating about the point that we selected, not the center point of the object. So I'm going to keep it at this angle. Next, let's talk about dimensioning this. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to add all the rest of my views so we can figure out what dimensions we need on which one. So I'm going to add my top view here. Just we can put it on either this top or this top. It's the same thing. And I'm going to put this on 6:1. I want my scale to be the same for everything. And for the visible and hidden edges, if we put it like this, what you would notice is it looks pretty messy around the center here. And that's because we're actually seeing the threads through the head of the screw. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to visible edges only. And what you'll notice is now we can't see that anymore. That looks much better. We're going to close that up. And now I'm going to add my sort of diagonal view. Put this on 5:1 or 6:1, sorry. And change this to, we can look at some views that are good. I want it to be a north view. Northwest and northeast should be basically the same since it's like a circular object. Just like that. If you want shaded to show like what type of material it's going to look like, you can do that. I just like it as is on the black and white. So I'm going to put this on visible edges only so we get like a crisp view of it. Click OK, and that looks really great in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and, why is this still selected? I do not know what's going on there. Alright, well anyways, we have our thing here, just like that. In the browser over here, you can see if I wanted to hide some bodies for specific drawings, I could go ahead and do that. If I pressed hide, you notice that it would go away. So I'm going to use the dimension tools now, and we're going to dimension up our sketch. And the idea is we provide just enough information that they can completely CAD this and figure out how it works on its own. Like what are the dimensions? So I don't use all of these dimensions. The main ones I use are dimension, which this tool is D, and that's really just the one that encompasses all of them. You don't really have to worry about, like, let's see what exactly it encompasses. It encompasses linear, aligned, angular, radius, and diameter dimensions. So you don't have to worry about any of these. You just do this one, unless it's Fusion 360 isn't figuring out correctly what dimension you need. And then beside that, the chain dimension is pretty useful, and we'll be using that in a second. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give some information on the height of everything. That's what this view is going to be for, the height of everything. So the first thing I want to do is the height of the threaded portion. If I select this down here, what you'll notice is just giving me like a linear dimension. It's just the dimension between the length of the line I selected. But if I select this top line up here, now it's giving me the distance between those two. So I'm going to go ahead and extend out here, just like that. I think that's perfect. Now I want to create the height here from this flat portion and then from the top of the flat portion to the top of the head of the screw. I could just create another dimension and go like this, and do it like this, but it might get pretty messy with them overlapping since this is such a small space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the chain dimension. And basically what this does is you can choose a base dimension and then it will continue dimensioning in like the same axis sort of. And it'll stack them on top nicely. So if I select this and then I select the next point to measure to, which is this, and then I select the next point after that, which is up here. Let's make sure we select it properly, just like that. What you'll notice is it's given us this nice stack. It's drawn this nice line right here. That looks great. So if I press enter, that should apply it, just like that. That's really great. We've got everything stacked on top of each other nicely. We could have moved the 0.4 over here and kept the 2.2 over here. And that also would have given a clean look, but I like it like this. It's good to learn how to use these tools as well. The next dimension I want to put on this is the depth of like our driver well here. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the dimensioning tool, and I can just select this line. I could also select the top line here and then the bottom line here, and that would give me the same thing. If I just select this, I'm going to put it out here somewhere, just like that. Looks perfect. So now we sort of have like all the height information, and that's what I want to get out of this. It's good practice not to overclog one drawing with too many dimensions, as that can make it hard to read and get all the dimensions. Like I could add the diameter of this here, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to actually put the diameter and the information for the driver here. So I'm going to put the dimension, and if you notice, if I select this, it's already giving me the diameter tool. If I want it to be radius, I could select here and it would give me the radius instead. But I want it to be diameter, so I'm going to go ahead and select the dimension and just go like this. Now we got our diameter. The next thing I want to do is I actually want to provide the diameter for this interior circle here, which is also the point, the hexagon point-to-point distance. So that's sort of what that information is being used for. Let's just figure out a good place for it to be. I don't know, somewhere like it's a little messy. Maybe here is fine, and then if you ever want to adjust the position of a dimension afterwards, you can go ahead and click on it, and you sort of have these handles which you can mess around with. So I don't know, I'm just going to keep it there, just like that, sort of off to the side, but still readable. Okay, and now the last piece of information I want to provide is our hex flat to flat, and that should provide enough information for them to reproduce this, and know exactly and quickly what sort of hex driver would be used in here. So I'm going to just select my edges here. You could also select the points, and we're just going to, I don't know, we'll just place it like here is fine. I think that's great. And now we have our dimension placed for the flat to flat. Okay, the last bit of information I want to provide is the like, let's see, is the thread type here. So if I go ahead and I place a leader here, we haven't talked about text and leader, but text just places a text down, and leader you sort of point at an edge or a point, and that's what we want here. So I'm going to select a leader, and then I'm just going to select an edge to point at. Right here is fine, and you'll notice it's just selecting. If the arrow is kind of inside the model here, so I could try to select a better edge like this one, so it's just pointing to the side, and then I'm just going to place the endpoint here. So I want to provide some information on what type of thread this is. So I'm just going to do M4 by 0.7. And then you can just press close to place it, and now we have it like this. If I double click on this, we can edit it, and we have some options here like the font and the height of the font. The height of the font is basically just the font size, um, and some other options like justification or whatever this is, bold, italics, underline. I'm just going to leave it like that. That's fine. And I actually want to bring this in a little bit, so I'm going to single click and then sort of drag this in. And now it's closer into the model. So this is, now we can provide some more information if we wanted to. Even though this is not shaded, I'm going to say it's a what did we put on there? A satin nickel color. So I'm going to go ahead and just select this and say, or maybe I'll select up here and say that it's a satin nickel finish, just so they have an idea of what the color is like. And if someone is going to manufacture this, I guess they would want to know what to put on the outside. But that's just a little bit more extra information on what this is. So we're basically done with our drawing. There's a little bit more I want to put in. We haven't covered everything, but this is basically all I sort of use. The table is pretty self-explanatory. You just create a table and you can put information inside the table. A lot of this stuff I really don't use. This is sort of like if you're really getting into like industrial blueprints. How do I create it exactly how my company wants it? But really, for if you're using this for engineering notebook or whatever, it's just create it the way that you want to create it. So I'm just going to add some text in the corner right here, just like this. And I'm just going to say that this is a 6:1 scale. Just like that. We can go ahead and close that. And then I'm just going to move it out of the corner by single clicking and holding and dragging on this. And I want it a little bit more this way. Just like that. It's fine. We could make our text a little bit bigger so it's more readable. I can go ahead and click like this and then Control A to select everything, and I could make this like 6 or something, just like that, so it's more readable. Now you may have noticed this big block down here. This is really not necessary for FTC purposes. I don't know if you can get rid of it, but it's just kind of what you have to work with. So for me to edit it there, I just double clicked on it, and you can just change what's inside here. So if I wanted to create change the created by, I could put this as like primitive data, just like that. If I wanted to change the date, I could change the date. For the title, I could change this to M4 by 0.7 screw instead of just screw. There's lots of things I could put here, but really you can just put stuff like this, just general information. And then to finish editing, you just say finish properties and it will update properly. So that's basically it for the screw drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and save this here, and I'm just going to call it screw drawing. Once we finish the nut drawing, I'll come back and I'll show you how to output this. So let's just quickly do the nut drawing. New drawing from design, just like this. We can put this on 297 and click OK. Everything looks great. I'm going to do sort of like the same thing as I did last time, a side view, a top view, and then isometric view. So I'm going to go ahead and actually make this bigger. I'm going to put it on 8:1. It sort of froze up there. Let me reopen that and put this on 8:1. Hello. Oh, okay, there you go. Alright, we sort of got it. I don't know what's going on here. But I'm going to change this to visible edges only, and we can just click OK there. Now I'm going to move it over into the to the place where I want. I can go ahead and pick this top point here, and yeah, just about there works. Then I'm going to create my top view like this. Why is it getting stuck? Okay, and we're going to put this on 8:1 like our other one, just like this. And for this, I actually, since we see the threads clipping through, can put this also on visible edges. Looks sort of weird with the threads there, but hopefully it's okay. Just like this, you can move it over a little bit. And then finally, we're just going to place our isometric view. I think this is actually a little bit too big. So I'm going to go ahead and drop these down to 7:1. Just like this. And then I'm going to add my isometric view here. Northwest. Place it around here somewhere. And this will also be 7:1. Just like that. And I'm going to do some reorganizing. I'm going to put this on visible edges as well. I'm just going to sort of move everything around so it fits better. Just like that. I think this has to come over M for move. Select the point to move from. We'll get it sort of centered. And then this thing can come up a little bit. Yeah, just like that. Okay, that looks fine. Now let's create our dimensions. So again, I'm going to use this for the height dimensions, and this one is going to be used for like sort of the width of the nut and stuff. I'll also be saying that this is a M4 by 0.7 thread. So I'm going to go ahead and create my dimensions here. So I'm just going to put the height just like this, and this is a 4 millimeters, so that is great. And then I'm actually going to do the height of this sort of flange here that we put, just so they know. And I can select a point and a line, and that will give me a dimension, the correct dimension, just like this. And that will just provide some extra information there. I can also, let's see, what else do we want to put in here? Maybe nothing. I think this is actually all we need. Yeah, that's basically all we need. Next, let's give some information here. So I can go ahead and give the flat to flat distance, which is 8, and that should be enough for them to create the hexagon. Just put it like that. And then I can just provide a leader, and we can point to the inside here. Maybe I want to move it, yeah, point more like here. That's better. And I can say that this is an M4 by 0.7 thread, or we don't need thread. Just like that. And then I'm just going to move it around. Yeah, something like that is great. And then that's basically all we need. I think we have really all the information. Oh, we should provide the diameter of this circle so they know this dimension of the sort of flange. So I'm going to go ahead and provide that as well. You can just select it, and the dimension tool knows that we want diameter. So you can go ahead and place that just like that. Perfect. For here, I'm just going to change this as well. This is going to be, you can double click on this, primitive data. And for this, I'm just going to change it to M4 by 0.7 nut. And just like that, and we can do finish properties. And now we have our drawing sorted out. It really didn't take that too long. It gives lots of information. It looks pretty good with larger assemblies. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one. And now let's talk about how do you output this. So to output it, you just click on the output up here, and there's 4 different ways that you can do it. I just output with PDF. And then if I want to embed it as an image, I use a PDF to PNG converter, and just get it converted to image. But if you just do output as PDF, you can just leave everything like this. I'm going to check open PDF, and then I'll just save it to my downloads here, and I guess we can just open it with Google Chrome. And now we have our drawing like this. And that's great. That's great. So that's all for today's tutorial. Hopefully you learned something. My team personally uses drawings in our notebook. If I go over to our robot CAD here, I've created drawings for our drivetrain, all our versions of our drivetrain, and everything here. If I just open one up, you can see that it gives a lot of information about the dimensions of our drivetrain, what it's made of. This is an old version, by the way, so this is not our actual drivetrain for the season, but this is a great piece of information. We put this in our notebook just so the judges have a little bit extra information about how our designs are dimensioned and what they're made of. So you can see here, I've given the basic dimensions for our drivetrain. I've given some information on what the major components are. Like this is 6061 aluminum. This is a box tube. This is an Everest Orbital 20. And just like that, it's pretty easy to do. It doesn't take that long, and it looks great. So I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.